Welcome to Code with Kurt. In this video, I'm going to show you how I built an inventory tracker software. It's based on parts and locations. So here I have a tab of parts. These are my part numbers. And these are my locations. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to click receipt. There's basically four functions it does. It does a receipt, which is bringing material in, shipment, which is shipping stuff out, a transfer, which is from one location to another, and then an adjustment, if you want to make an inventory adjustment to any location. So we're going to start with receipt. I'm going to pick a part number. I'm going to say Dodge, and there's no inventory records for Dodge. So we're going to click New York, and we're going to say there's 50 there. We're going to hit submit. It's complete. So now we go over our inventory. We got 50 Dodge at New York. And we'll load a couple more. Got Chevy. No records to be found anywhere. I'll put 100 here. Hit return, hit submit, complete. And now we got inventory at New York and Jackson. Now I can pull up Dodge again, and below here it's going to show me the total of every location where Dodge is. So I know I got 50, so I can bring in, let's pull job, add inventory to Chicago. So I'm going to add 100 there. Submit. It's complete. Now I can go back and look at Dodge again. It's going to give me two locations where it's at. So next I'm going to do a shipment. I'm going to ship the 50 out of New York. So I could take Dodge. It's going to give me the inventory for Dodge. Okay, so I got 50 in New York, so I can go New York 50, hit return, and submit. That's complete. Now I can check my Dodge. And now I just got 100 in Chicago. Now say I want to transfer some inventory from Chicago to New York. So I'll hit transfer. My part number, Dodge. It's going to show me where I got it at. I'm going to go Chicago to New York and 50. Transfer complete. Now if I look at Dodge, it should give me, split that inventory 50 and 50. So now I want to make an inventory adjustment. Say the Dodge was Chicago. So I hit inventory adjustment, hit Dodge, got our locations. So I want to take this and make it 60. We had a bad count, so we're going to make this 60. So I hit Chicago. And you hit 60. We're going to give it the actual number of what it's supposed to be, the new quantity. We'll hit submit. Hit OK. Now we look at Dodge. Now we got 60 there and 50 in New York. And how this is keeping track is this inventory tab will give you all the inventory of every location and part that you have. And this menu is basically just pulling that data up, keeping track of it, doing your transactions, and building your inventory as you go. Parts and locations, I mean, you can hit as many parts as you want in here, and locations. And that's what shows up in these drop downs here for part and location. Now this isn't built for large volumes of parts and locations. I would say, 100 parts, or maybe up to 500. It might get a little slow, and about the same amount of locations, vice versa there. I mean, it's just meant to keep inventory track for small inventory quantities, basically. So I'll show you a step-by-step process of how I built it. So let's get started. Here I have a fresh new open Google Sheet, and I'm going to first by giving it a name. So we're going to go, we'll call this one inventory tracker software. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my sheets down here. I'm going to have 4 sheets. So I'm going to get them out here. And it is important to get the name exactly the way I have it. So I'm going to start with a capital M and end in small letters for menu. And this one's going to be inventory. Next one's going to be parts. And the last one's going to be locations. Important again to start with the capital letter and the rest of the letters in small case. So those are complete. I'm going to go to my parts tab and we're going to start building the header for parts. So I'm going to start part number and description. And it's important to keep it the way I have it here with column A and B and both of these here. I mean, you can basically leave it like that, but I'm going to make it have a little better appearance, so I'm going to make it 18. I'm going to space these out a little bit, give a little more room, and then I'm going to bold these, hit the B here, and then also I'm going to shade the background a little bit, just kind of make it stand out a little bit different. So that is complete. Next I'm going to go to locations and do the same thing here. Call this location and this one description. Those two, and I'm going to give it the same kind of background. Bold, 18. Space it. I'm going to space it out a little bit so you can see more, and then I'm going to make it stand out a little bit in the background, give it a little shade like that. And then inventory, we're going to set the header on this, and this is going to be 3 columns. It's going to be part number, quantity, and location. And we're going to copy, get these bold, bring these up to 18 font size, space this out a little bit, give it a little more room. Oh, just did see there. Quantity, a little room there. And then I'm going to shade these in the background again. Give it a little color. There we go. Those 3 tabs are done. We don't have to do anything else with those except when we go and add parts and locations. And now let's start building the menu. And basically we're going to go down to 9 here. Here, row 9. It's important to do row 9 here. We're going to do part number, location, and quantity. And we're going to build a header down here, 18, bold, and we're going to shade it, again gray. Give it a little gray. I'm going to space these columns out a little bit. Maybe just a little further because we're going to have to put some buttons in here. There we go. Remember, row 9 is important and put it just like the way I have it. What we're going to do here is build these buttons. They're not that complicated. So we're going to go to Insert, Drawing. We're going to go to this circle square overlap where it says Shape. We're going to go to Shapes, and I'm going to hit the first one, top left rectangle. And I'm going to hold my left key down on the mouse, and I'm going to drag it till we got a nice, decent sized rectangle. I'm going to double click in there, and the first one I'm going to do is Receipts. We got that, and now, oops. We're going to back out of that. Now what I want to do is I want to bold it So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to come over here to this 3 lines here where it says more. Here I have my bold, and then I'm going to center it. So I'm going to go over here to align and center it. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to click out of it, and that's my first button. I'm going to hit save and close, and now it's going to pop it in down here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to drag it all the way up here to this. I'm going to move row 1 down so it's kind of within the first row. I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. We don't really need it that big. So I'm going to grab one of the corners and just kind of shrink it down. So I got my first button made. Now we're going to do basically 4 more buttons, just like that. So I'm going to hit format. Same thing, shape, drawn out, shipment. Center it, save. I'm gonna put it right here, and Google kind of helps you line stuff out too to make it appropriate size and everything. We keep it like that. Start drawing. Transfer. See. Do inventory adjustment button. By the time you get done with making all these buttons, you should be a professional button maker. We're going to center line that, save it, bring that up here. There we go. And the last one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a submit button. Where am I at? Insert, drawing. Oops, select my shape. Bold. Move it right here. Make it a little smaller. Now I got my buttons made. Now next we're going to go to Tools, and then we're going to go to Script Editor. We're going to add the code behind the screen. So, alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give my project a name here. I'm going to call it the same thing as my sheet. Hit OK, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to copy in all the script code, and I'm going to go through it section by section. So let me first copy it. There I have it all copied. So now I have it copied. And I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to save it. So the first function I'm going to be talking about is my receipt view, and that is tied to this button. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing all the sheets here. Next thing I do, I'm clearing out all the the data. I'm clearing out everything in this section and everything below. I'm adding my titles. I'm adding my part drop down, my location drop down. And then for quantity, I have a validation to make sure it is a number that's greater than equal to 1, because you don't want to do 0 or anything that's less than 1 on a receipt. So that's the background of this. Next is my shipment view, my next function, and that is tied to this button. And it's very similar to the receipt. The shipment, I'm defining my sheets. I'm clearing all this out again, this data and below. I'm setting my titles. I'm doing the part drop down, the location drop down. And in these, I have to go to the part sheet and grab all the parts. Same thing with the location. I'm going to location sheet and grabbing all the parts. And then again for the quantity, I'm looking for something that's greater than 1. I'm setting a validation there. And the next button that this is tied to, my transfer view. Again, very similar. Here I have a message box of shipment. It's commented out. Don't need it. I could take it out here. But now I'm grabbing my sheets. I'm clearing the data out again. I'm adding my titles in, and then this title you need a from location and to location. So I'm doing my part drop down. I'm doing my from location drop down, and I'm doing my to location drop down. And again, I'm setting a validation on quantity that has to be equal to or greater than 1. And then my next function is my inventory adjustment. Same thing, sheets, clear it, titles, part drop down, location drop down, and quantity. And then the following function here is I got my submit results, and that is tied to this, submit. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing my sheets, my menu, my inventory sheet. I'm grabbing what transaction I'm doing, which is it's looking at for range 3-2. So everything that's populated here. So when I do a receipt, shipment, transfer, or inventory adjustment, it populates the type of transaction name there. So then I'm going through, if the transaction equals receipt, I'm grabbing the values of what I need, the part number, location, quantity. I'm going to the inventory sheet. I'm looking up all the inventory records. I'm going through each inventory record to see if there is one out there. If there is one, I'm going to add to it. If there isn't, I'm going to add a new record. Here I have some message errors, entered required data. So if some of this isn't entered, then it goes down here and pops up an error box. But other than that, it says complete. And then it resets the form with my receipt view. So it goes up to the top and calls that function again. Next, if it's a shipment, I'm grabbing the part number, location, and quantity. I'm seeing to make sure they're all there. I'm going into the inventory, looking for all the inventory records, going through to make sure, looking if they equal the part number and location, they do. I'm subtracting that quantity out, and I have some rules based here. If the quantity is -0, less than 0, then I'm saying not enough quantity from location, and I'm basically stopping the transaction. If it equals 0, then I'm deleting that inventory record out. No use keeping it if it's going to be 0. And then if anything is greater left, it's just setting the value, the new value. And then if it can't find the location of the quantity, then it says no quantity to ship from location, and then the transaction is denied. And that's the entered required data and complete, and then it resets the form again, calling the function. Next thing we have is the transfer. Transfer, I'm getting part number from location to location quantity. Make sure they're all populated. Going to the inventory records. And for this one, I'm looking from the from location. Make sure I subtract the quantity out of that one. And then, I handle the -0. I handle the 0 cases. And then if it's anything above 0, it sets the new quantity. And then I do this again. I look for the to location, see if I can find it. If I do, I add it. If the to location if there isn't one yet set up, then I add a new one. So again, complete, reset the transfer view. The next transaction is the inventory adjustment. So I'm looking for part number, location, quantity. Make sure they're all populated. Going to the inventory sheet, cycling through, see if I see a part number, location. If I do, then I set the new quantity. If I set it to 0, it'll delete the row. If it's -0 that I put in, then it says it has to be greater than 0 or transactions denied. And if I put in a location I can't find, it says no location found, transaction denied. Again, it complete, and then it resets the form. And then I have an on-edit trigger here, and I'm triggering this on the part number drop down. So anytime the part number is selected, I'm populating these fields down here. Basically, I'm pulling the inventory for that part number and displaying it down here. So with this, I'm looking for the specific part number range, which is specifically looking for column 2 and row 4. So column 2 is B, and then 4 would be this one right here, is where the part number always is for every transaction. So I'm pulling the E value, I'm pulling the range, the source of the spreadsheet, I'm getting the name of the sheet, I'm getting the column, I'm getting the row, I'm pulling the menu and inventory. I'm looking specifically if the column is 2 and the row is 4 and the value is not equal 0, meaning that there has to be a part number. Select it, and the spreadsheet is menu. Then I'm going through each inventory record, cycling through, and if it equals that part number, then I am setting the value for this grid down below here. And if I can't find a record, then I display no records found in this cell. So that's an overview of all the functions behind the background. So we'll scroll to the top, and it's already saved, so I'm going to go back over to my sheet. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to attach these buttons to a function. So I'm going to left click on the button. I'm going to click, well, basically just right click on it. Right click and then click these 3 dots here. And it's going to say assign script. So the first script we're going to assign the button to a function. And the first function is my receipt view, like that. You have to get this just exactly how I have it here. My receipt view. Hit OK. So we got the first button. Now we're going to right click here, do the same thing for shipment, assign shipment. This is going to be my shipment view. Now make sure you got the capital letters right. I'm starting with a small, and then in between each word I got a capital letter of S and V there. So I'm going to hit OK. And then the next one, assign script to my transfer view. So again, my, and then transfer and view. Hit OK. Then we're going to do inventory adjustment. Assign a script. Here go my INV ADJ and end view. Hit OK. And then the last button we're going to assign a script. We'll call this submit results. Submit results. Hit OK. Alright, and I think we have everything ready. The only thing that's going to do now, I think, is going to send us through a security check to make sure we're okay with running the script. So as soon as I hit receipt, it's going to give me this authorization required. You hit continue. And you want to pick the account that you're running it on. Hit advanced. And then scroll to the bottom and hit go inventory tracker software. And then basically it's giving OK to allow inventory tracker software to be able to edit, create, and delete spreadsheets with Google Drive. You want to scroll to the bottom and say allow. And now we allow to permissions. So now I can go ahead and run receipt and see if this works. And there we go. It brought in our display, and we can hit shipment. It's displaying everything. Transfers displaying, and inventory adjustments displaying. Okay, so the next thing, we can actually start using it. It is up and going. We just need to add parts and locations. So I can add just an example, part 1. Give a description of part 1. Part 2. Give a description of part 2. Like that. Come up with some locations. So we go A1, A1, B1, B1, C1, C1. So now we got our locations. And now we can go to our menu, go to receipt. We're going to bring some inventory in. So we got part 1. No inventory records found. Give us 100. Hit submit. Complete. And then we go to part 1 again. If we want to bring in another receipt, it's going to show that we have 100. Say we're going to put 100 at C1 this time. Do 100. Hit submit. Complete. So now we can check our part 1, see what the inventory is. So we got 100 each. Now say we want to ship something out, so we hit shipment. We're going to go to part 1. It's going to give us our location where our inventory is. Say I want to ship it out as C1. And I'll just note this. If you select B1, say, and hit 100, hit submit, it's going to give you an error. No quantity to ship from location. Just transaction denied. So hit OK. We're going to pick our right location, one with inventory. Say A1, we're going to ship 100 out. Hit submit. Complete. Now we check our part 1 here just by selecting it. Now we just got A. So say I want to transfer 50 into another location, so we go to transfer. Take our part 1. C1. I want to do 50. Oops. Didn't hit enter. There we go. Complete. And now I can check part 1. And we split our inventory. And then say I want to do the last thing is do an inventory adjustment on part 1. C1 and say there's like 80. Hit submit. Complete. We can check our part 1. There we go. C1's adjusted. And we can look at our inventory tab, and this is what's keeping a track here. This is basically our database here. These 3 tables are basically our database, our 3 in the background. That concludes this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it below the video. Until next time.